during these crazy times, I've been watching a lot of Hallmark movies, and I spotted this stained glass window behind this Christmas tree, and I took a photograph of it. And I thought, well, that might make an interesting little quilt for above my bed. So I used this old compass that my father gave me. You can do something like this with a ruler and a pencil attached. But I just drew my half circle, and my design is more of a full half circle or half moon shape. The window in the movie was elongated, more of a fan shape. But anyway, so I used tracing paper to trace different areas of the window, and then I just played around with the shape and the sizes of it till I could find something that I liked. I liked the rhythm of these C curls curling up and down. And then because my window is much deeper than the stained glass in the window on the Hallmark channel, I was looking around. I wanted to do something that was more vertical in the space, and I saw flowers. I love flowers, and so you can just trace these things and cut and paste and increase in size, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do all this fancy stuff at the bottom, but I'm going to use these flowers through here too. And then to fill in all this vacant space around them, I'm going back to the design in the window, and I like this fan shape of these, or this pointy fan, whatever you want to call it. So I just thought I'd show you a little bit of the process here for designing a window. When I first started doing stained glass, I used patterns in a book, and then I would put different things together, and pretty soon you're designing. So there's lots of stained glass pattern books out there, and they would make lovely quilts. So I use, for my circles, all these circles, you can use the bottom of spool of thread, or I have some jewels, or these little labels for some of the little circles. And I started putting some fabric on my table to inspire me, because I loved the colors that I saw in that stained glass window. And anyway, just drawing some of the shapes on the tracing paper, and then using when it's on tracing paper, you can position things where you want, because you can see through it, and then you can set things down just where you want. And anyway, it's just paper, so you can play with it and refine your drawing until you're happy. The nice thing about doing something symmetrical like this is you just play with the one side, and when you get it the way you like, then you can put it on tracing paper and do the other side. I use whiteout and a pencil and eraser and cut and paste to get it the way you like it. All right, I've decided that I like what I've drawn so far. So I just did half of it, and now I'm putting it on tracing paper so that I can flip it over and have the other side. But anyway, when I do this, I use a different color pen. I have a black marker below and a blue one on top, so I can see the lines that I've covered so I don't miss any. These are stressful times, and it's good to focus on something that you like to do. And so I'm excited about my new project, because I love stained glass, the romance of stained glass and flowers. And so what I'm going to do today, after we're done filming here, is go and start this process. That's my working drawing. I will number everything and then make a freezer paper copy of everything. My working drawing is underneath the freezer paper copy, I used a beige masking tape to tape the two pieces of freezer paper together because you can see through it a little bit. Now, what I do is I just have the working drawing underneath, and if you have a strong light, I have this on a white table. You can see the design through here, so I have to copy every pattern piece and then number it. And sometimes I put little dots here. My eyesight isn't as great as it was, so I put little dots where I see a dot to help me find the lines sometimes. Right, you make sure everything is numbered exactly the way it is on the bottom, on the working drawing. This is the freezer paper copy on top, and I numbered everything and used a combination of numbers and letters. Just make sure that the things are, this is your roadmap for putting your quilt together, so make sure the numbers are fairly close together so you can find them. And then I use a different color pen to make little tick marks. Those are like darts in dressmaking, just so that they help you build this quilt. So when you line them up, you know that's in the correct position. But use a different color marker. I use blue or green because you don't want to have it as a cut line. It's just a tick mark for indicating where the pieces come together as you're building your quilt. Organization is key when you're working on a complicated design like this. So this is the working drawing with the French views on top, taped so it'll stay in place. And then this is the freezer paper copy. You can see the waxy back. I cut the freezer paper copy apart. I'm going to set these border pieces aside, and that will be done separately, right? The big decision that I had to make right away was the fabric choices for this large center part of my project. And in stained glass, the lead lines define the different colors. But in quilting, you need contrast. So I've decided to use every other fabric in this background area so that it will show up. You can see that I did do a little work. I cut out some of the pieces with my magic button, and because it is a complicated design, you don't want to cut everything out all at once. Here's some more of the background pieces. I separated, try to do this in a way that you can be organized. So like putting all some of these beige background pieces together in a box. That'll help. And then before I cut the whole pattern apart, I did take some digital images of different parts of the design so that I can refer to this for the numbers to place things. Because, you know, as you're building with added seam allowances, some of these numbers disappear. So I'm saving this big top border for later. So I left those pieces together, and that will be, we'll do that later on. I just wanted to point out a few things. Remember, as you're building, you build from the background to the foreground. And my flowers didn't fit right here, so I had used my plastic on top to make a new pattern piece. Do it on plastic and then put it on your freezer paper. But as you're building, you have to remember to build from the background to the foreground. And I went ahead and placed all the background for these seed curls. So I'm going to build this fan area. And I placed this piece. It's not touching anything. So I just lifted the edges of the fabric to get the correct placement. You've got a line through here so you can see where the head has to be. And now I'm going to build these background pieces here first. You see we left the pattern pieces here. You have to do that because it is the placement for your next piece. So I'll put these pieces down next, and then I'll build these pieces. And then I'll put this little purple thing, this little fan place here. And then I'll put this, these little pieces down, and then these pattern pieces on top. Anyway, just build from the background to the foreground. Take your time studying your pattern. I placed this one too because I could see it's not touching anything. I just carefully placed it. And now this little purple thing will just have to be turned right there to go right there. So study your pattern. When I did this side of the quilt top here, I started from the bottom here, but that was a wrong thing to do because then I had to keep lifting these other pieces to stick that in there. So I soon changed my direction after I tried to do that a few times. And now this pattern here, this side of the quilt top is the opposite of that. You see how the C-curls are opposite? So now I'm going to start from the top and then come around. So that piece will be down first, this will be on top, and then this won't be on top. So I'll just keep advancing in that direction. It should go much faster than the first side.